Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on The Object of the Game. For Coach Chuck Kyle, I am Maureen Kyle, and this is where we talk about how the field is a classroom. You've probably heard that a million times if you've been a loyal watcher, but really this is about how life lessons are learned through playing sports. And we have had some amazing guests on our show talking about how they've grown up playing sports, what they've been able to accomplish in their life. And our guest today is going to be another one on the top of that list who will share some incredible life experiences that you won't want to miss. Another topic that we're really tackling today is cross-training with kids and kids in sports. Now, you have had kids playing different sports when you were coaching football. I know everybody knows if you played football for Coach Kyle, you needed to run track too, unless you were playing some other sport.
Playing other sports, fine.
But what was it that you discovered about cross-training and making sure that kids are using their muscles in different ways?
Right. And you'll hear about this, I'm sure, when Chris is talking. Probably everybody's picturing, he's going to talk about the squat and technique.
Well, and really quick, we're talking about Chris Gizzi.
Yes,
is our guest
I'm sorry.
today.
I'm saying Chris.
And he spent a lot of time.
I coached him. Come on.
He went to Ignatius. He spent a lot of time as the Packers strength coach.
Right.
Played for the Packers. Played for the Denver Broncos. So we're going to talk to him in a few minutes. But he talks a lot about this.
Right. The idea, I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about it, is be athletic. Eat properly, take care of yourself, sleep, and so on like that. And too much bad information. How's that? Bad information comes out. Here's this young kid coming up, and he's not even fully developed yet, and he will be better if he bulks up. Oh my God, no. Let's hold on now. Don't worry about that. Don't. He's still growing. You don't need to cause those joints and tendons to be tightening up and so on like that. You'll hear him talking about that. You can get to bulking up later. The point being made is, don't get into this ego lifting, and he'll probably talk about that too. My kid can bench. He's only in the 6th grade and he can bench. Who cares about that? Be athletic, right? And that's why playing multiple sports, especially as the younger kids, play multiple sports. That part of it, you're exercising all the muscles in your body, not just a certain number because you only do one sport. That's when there's problems, see. And you'll see that movement part and so on. When a young person gets a little bit, as he's growing up and getting a little older, he's reaching more of that, he's not going to get too much bigger. I mean, let's face it, he reached that. Then the challenge of bulking up maybe a little bit more there, but the idea of cross-training, playing multiple sports at a younger age, is the route to go. Do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, stretch a lot, eat well, sleep well. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Become an athlete first.
You're going to hear Chris's expertise on all of this, and really, Chris has an amazing backstory too. I mean, if you're thinking like, I don't know if I know him, you do, because he is part of this iconic video that is shown every year, especially around 9/11. He has a background where he played for the Air Force Academy. We're going to be talking to him again about strength training. But what I want to do before we go to our next break is thank our sponsor, Infinity of Beechwood and Akron. Have you checked them out? They have an amazing QX80 that you see right there. This is luxury redefined. The completely reimagined, entirely redesigned QX80 offers bold design, refined comfort, and a powerful presence on the road. The 2025 QX80 has earned the IIHS top safety pick for its structural integrity and advanced safety technology. Discover it today at Infinity of Beechwood and Infinity of Akron, where customer care is second to none. All right, well, when we come back, we are going to be talking with Chris Gizzi, who, we go way back, and we're going to show you just how far back our history goes with Chris, and you're going to want his advice on how to make sure that your kid is staying healthy as they're training, and then also talking a lot about discipline and what discipline really means when you're an athlete. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the object of the game. And if your kid is playing any sort of sport at any age, it seems like strength training is now part of the entire process. I know for my 11-year-old, it was throughout the year, and that was for a team where she was still playing with 10 and 11-year-olds.
Right.
She had
Yes.
some strength training. So that's going to be our focus today. And our guest today, I mean, this is Old Home Week.
Wow.
I mean, we are going way back
Oh, yes.
with Chris Gizzi. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Maureen. It's an honor to be here with you and Coach. I was just tickled when he asked me last week. This couldn't get here fast enough.
Well, I mean, Dad, explain, how far back we go with Chris.
Well, this is going back. He and his father and I were the young coaches. We were the guys. Hey, young guys, tape the ankles or drive the bus, or hey, coach the JV's varsity and show up at the first. We were doing all those sort of things, and at our age, it was okay. Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
Yeah.
Right? And so I was working with Al Gizzi, Chris's dad. Al let me become defensive coordinator, and that was fun. But meanwhile, we were having kids. Chris is a little older than Maureen, but Chris's brother Doug, same age.
We're like a month apart. I can't remember who's older, but Chris, we're bringing this up because we have a picture of our first birthday.
Yes.
You're in the picture.
Awesome. You're in the picture.
And Doug's on your dad's lap. I'm on my dad's lap as 1-year-olds. And I feel like whenever we flip through those photos, there's a bunch of you in the old family photos from my first birthday. So it's fun to have you as part of this show.
We've established a long relationship.
We just had to establish
certainly. But onward, Chris comes to St. Ignatius High School and multiple sport, very successful in football and wrestling. Very successful. Wrestling, he was, the state championship runs and all that sort of stuff. And he was, had a great career there. Football-wise, he was captain. He started from the years. And from St. Ignatius, he goes Air Force Academy. Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because that's an interesting decision. Not everybody realizes that that's more than just a football decision. That's a life situation. It's there has to be the right mentality going into that, which Chris certainly had. But what a thrill! He goes on to the Air Force Academy, and he goes on to be starter for I think at least 3 years, if not 4. He was defensive player of the year of the league, both his junior year and senior year. Unbelievable success there, and that type of discipline with the academies and so on. Obviously, you got to be that mentality, and that's something that young kids should hear about today a little bit. But also just that whole approach to life was special, and also we'll talk about 9/11 a little bit there, Chris. We have to talk about that because that's a very special thing. But it's just a pleasure to have Chris back with us and sharing his knowledge. Folks, he played in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers, and then with the Green Bay Packers for, I think, 10 years as their strength coach. So we have very interesting expertise today, and a young man who, as he pictures high school, he's picturing multiple sport athletes, and that's what he was big for.
It all started in the backyard, right, Chris? Is that where it all started?
It always does. Yes, it always does. Starts in the backyard, playing wiffle ball or football. But me and Danny probably running into each other for 3 hours straight, tackling each other and making moves and throwing passes in the back of the end zone. I couldn't have asked for a better childhood and be around better people. When my earliest memories were on that football field as probably a 2-year-old, Dad would take me to double sessions and you were there the whole day, and I'd watch a little film with you guys. I'd be on the field, try to stay out of trouble, and learned a lot the whole way. So I wouldn't trade it for the world, man.
So, what age did you really start playing football, and when did you start wrestling?
Okay, football. I waited tackle football until I was in fifth grade. So what would
Mm,
that would be 10?
okay. Yeah.
So at 10 years
Yeah, 10,
old, I
11,
Yeah.
started
right in there.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing tackle. Wrestling maybe a year or two earlier.
Oh, wow.
And I would have to say, like, I was in soccer before that, but backyard sports. I mean, it was as soon as you got home. Yeah, you got to do a little homework, but as soon as you got home, you were playing outside, and it was either basketball or football or wiffle ball or baseball or we played long. You remember jarts? I remember playing that and
Oh,
trying to
wow.
dodge the darts. I mean, we
They
were
still
nuts.
sell those?
Anything
I
we
don't
could
even
do
know.
to
Yeah.
yeah, don't try that at home anymore. I don't even
No,
think that's on the
those were
market. But
lethal weapons,
Yeah.
actually, weren't they?
yeah, we were doing everything we could to have an excuse to stay outside and not get in too much trouble from mom being late coming home for dinner that night.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you feel like, so when do you feel like you really like fell in love with the game? And I ask this only because I think our childhood is very different than childhood today. But when was it that you felt like, and we can focus on football first and foremost, when was that you just felt like, oh gosh, I love this game?
Yeah, I think it was before I even started playing. I think just being around the sport and getting to see it up close because of the privilege I had, my dad being a coach.
Right.
So, his players were my heroes, and nothing to take away from the Browns or the Buckeyes, but I had a close relationship. I knew those guys by first name, so I didn't really get to love the Browns or the Buckeyes or pro sports or college sports until maybe I got a little older. So I would have to say, even before I started playing tackle, I always had a love and I liked watching it on TV. I remember watching, I think it was the 1980 Super Bowl, San Fran beating Cincy, and that's when it first like triggered to me. Like certainly there was football was something big, and then I always had that experience with my dad's teams, and certainly I think there was an opportunity to do all these other sports. Soccer was the one that my parents got me into probably very close after those wheels started turning, and played soccer up until I think maybe started in second or third grade, instructional baseball, and then and got into football soon after that, as well as wrestling. So I remember, I don't think we ever overlap sports too much,
Right.
which is, as an aside, we try to do that now too. We try not to overlap sports just as four kids, none of them can drive yet. We got to got to
Right.
wait a little bit on that, but sometimes it's hard to get them to each of their events, but we don't want their plates too full right now. And we want to leave them plenty of time to play outside, to play with friends, to go fishing, doing things that are, all around just being in a social environment with a lot of different kids. So I think we're just trying to mirror that as best we can in today's environment. But it is different. You're right, Maureen. Like sometimes the demand to win or the demand to compete, and then club sports have thrown a unique twist into things. It's mostly good, but sometimes there are some hangups, with the club sports where they demand a little bit too much from kids who aren't quite ready to make that commitment or for that commitment on a year-round basis. But I think those are arguable points, and every kid's going to be different. I think every parent tries to do the best they can to provide for their kid the most enriching experience possible. No one's doing anything bad on purpose,
Right.
not that any bad, good, or otherwise, but everyone's wanting the best thing for their kids. And sometimes it's just about us talking about this stuff and be like, you know what, that's not a bad idea. Or maybe I'll try that. Or,
Yeah.
oh, this is something new. It didn't resonate with me at first, but maybe if I kick it around a little bit, it will a little later on.
Well, it's important that the people watching today are hearing a guy that made it to the pros, all league, as a college guy, coaching, strength training, all that. And notice what he's talking about when he was young. He was sampling various sports, just enjoying various sports, giving time in between. Hey, there was football. Take a little break. Go wrestling and things like that. That's kids need just that stage of sampling, because gradually they'll realize, and you did, Chris. You realize you get to high school and it's like football and wrestling. That's what I can handle, and not just physically. but mentally, that
Yeah.
was where the ball game was. And you know, come on, he's a good student. Air Force, Air Force Academy, they don't just take you because you can spell Air Force.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a very good student, and you have to be able to
Yeah.
to touch all those bases. And you're a great example. And what you just talked about there is we need to get that message out to families. It's so important now. So
Yeah, I
important.
think we all just keep repeating it, sharing our experience, and I think honoring every parent. Every parent is doing everything they can the best for their kid. No one's doing things astray. I think, or at least intentionally trying to. As we bring in this strength conditioning component, along with giving kids free play, certainly there's some things that I would say the industry or research or I think more practical experience offers us. And you kind of, I think you can tell when it's right because kids they read this better than anyone, and you can't lie if you're a coach. The kids figure it out awfully quick. And when things are in a facility or they're on a team where the coach does care about the player, that individual, not only in how they perform in their sport, but how they're developing, how they're doing. I think the kids realize that. I think they play harder. I think they enjoy and have more fun. And this becomes more than just going to practice or lifting weights, or it's not a job. And, even too at the professional level, there are parts that feel like a job, but boy, if you can get away from that and make it fun and make it engaging, it's not going to be like that all the time, every day, 24/7. We all know that we're all working and having to bust our humps. But like, if we can make that happen in a professional environment for athletes, there's no doubt that can happen in a youth environment.
I want to get into your experience with Air Force because that takes a lot of discipline and what you've gone through in the NFL. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to have more with Chris Gizzi. Thank you for watching The Object of the Game. Today we are talking with Chris Gizzi, who spent years in the NFL as both a player and strength coach. But before that, you had to make the decision, Chris, on where to go to college. And we kind of didn't even get the chance to talk about the St. Ignatius years when you were playing football there. But I'm going to let you two kind of talk about how did that, since you were his coach, how did that develop from high school then deciding on Air Force? Like, you guys remember those days. Reminisce for us.
Chris was an excellent football player for us, and the fact that he also wrestled that attracted a number of colleges because colleges would come in going, what other things does he do? Wrestler, and he's very good. Look what he finished in the state. All that sort of stuff. So let's talk. So anyway, but again, you decided Air Force Academy. And
yes,
we've had guys go, and I mentioned this a little earlier. There's times when I look guys in the eye going, I don't think that's for you, son. I really don't. Now, I didn't say that to Chris Gizzi because I said, Chris, I think that would be pretty good for you. But they have that's a really interesting commitment, and it's a commitment that you can't take just
lightly.
Yeah. You got to really understand what that means. So please let's talk about that.
I tell you, my brain is swelling with how this how to get all this out. I think the first part is like, Coach, I remember exactly when you talked to me like, Chris, this might be a fit for you. And it's like, you can play there. And as you remember, I was a good high school player, but I was a late bloomer, and I was in a great high school program. And I think you knew me as well as my dad echoed the same sentiments, and so did the coach from Air Force who recruited me, Sammy Steinmark. Like, you guys all resonate. Hey, you can do this, and especially after Sammy saw me wrestle, he's like, I wasn't sure until I saw you wrestle.
Right.
This is the place for you. I went out there on a visit. And I knew immediately, just because it was the people, not the buildings or the lightning bolt on the helmet. It was the people out there. And I'm like, these guys are just like me. These gals are just like me. And it was an ideal fit. It's interesting as some former Ignatius players came by and visited, you want to show them that part of Air Force that they would resonate with. And a lot of the same things we were taught and were presented to us at Ignatius, we're all but present every day at Air Force. Certainly, you are in a military environment. You are on lockdown for the most part. Ignatius, not quite like that, unless you're, in English class or no. We were always treated like when it came time for school, when it came time for sports, there was this. We have to let these kids blossom. We have to take the military reins off, but not necessarily the uniform. And I think that was where the coaching staff at Air Force, as well as the instructors at Air Force, gave us the opportunity to be creative, gave us the opportunity to color outside the lines, to find unapproved solutions, to be able to lead and sometimes succeed, sometimes fail. So the system at Air Force is set up for that. They teach you what oppression feels like, what it means to compel someone in a way that's it's not fun. They do that so that you'll fight for the people who are in a world that's their environment, that's their life, because it's not what we have here. We live in a free country. We have many honors and abilities that to be able to grow here, opportunities. So Air Force does have a sometimes coercive environment, but it's there to teach you that you have to be passionate about something to truly be disciplined. So you can say the word discipline and it can get labeled on something and people might see it, wow, that looks like discipline. But if there's no passion behind it, as soon as the eyes look away or the cameras are off or whatever it is, it's not really discipline. The discipline happens when you see people doing exactly what they were doing when the crowd's watching from the chapel tower, watching them march. They're doing that exact same thing at 4 a.m. when they have to tidy up their room, or when they're staying up late, having to crush the books and get ready for exam the next day, and doing it together. I think everything that we did at Air Force, it was always together. So discipline was a community choice. Like, we're choosing this. This isn't something we're being allotted to. I mean, this is not what, we want this. This is what we came for, and it's exactly what we got.
Wow, that says a lot. I mean, that really does. I hope young men and ladies, listen to that, because maybe it's not for everybody, but for those it's for, it's a rewarding moment, lifetime, no doubt about it.
Yeah, the people I've met there and stay in contact with, you meet them not only the country but the world over.
Right.
It's crazy what you run into people. I ran into Curtis Bowman a month ago.
Oh, did ex-player
out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He lives in Nashville. He was coaching baseball. He's like, Giz. I'm like, Curtis? I mean, he obviously a few years apart, but I remember recruiting him to Air Force.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He looked great, but giving to kids the same energy. We're having the same conversation that we had 20 years ago, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And it picks up like that. And the beauty of it was sports kind of tied us together. Yeah. And the chance to go to a military school, or even just to be in a college sports environment, we had a lot of same things that we had in common. So it holds over the years.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I also like what you said about when nobody's watching.
Right.
I mean, I think that's discipline for anybody in any area of their life. I mean, if they're doing it just to, especially now with social media, if you're doing it just for the social media reel, the TikTok, whatever video, then that's not the discipline. You're not putting the work in. You're just doing it for show. So I love that just for anybody in any aspect of their life. We're going to take a quick break now because on the back end, I want to talk about your NFL days, especially what happened after 9/11, because there's some really great imagery from that. And then we're going to get to strength training. I promise. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Object of the Game. We are talking with Chris Gizzi, who's actually an old family friend.
That's right.
But played in the NFL for years, was a strength coach. We have so much to talk about. And we were just talking about your time in the Air Force Academy, but then went on to the NFL, and I believe as a free agent, correct?
Right.
So,
right. I mean, that's what I remember.
Yes. Yeah, I got signed by Denver as a free agent.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, people have to realize, okay, if you're in the academy, you owe the government time, right? It wasn't so.
Yes.
Back then, you were all late for I mentioned junior, senior year, and meanwhile, some pro team may go, well, he's got to go to the Air Force for a while. Then maybe he can play. So there was that little not glitch, but that responsibility, right? But
Yeah, I think
so
when
that's
I
why
made
free
the choice,
agent, and because you probably wouldn't have gotten drafted, but they had to figure that out.
yeah, it was. I mean, I made the choice. I wanted to graduate. I wanted to be a second lieutenant. I wanted to finish my time at Air Force. And
Right.
again, this is some years ago. There wasn't the transfer portal. We weren't.
Right.
You made a commitment to a team, and maybe some guys left after their sophomore year because after that, you are making a commitment to the United States military, to the Air Force specifically, that you are going to serve. So I wanted to honor my commitment. The opportunity that had now just started to develop because there were some former players, whether they served their time or they were released from active duty and transitioned into a reserve role, were able to go and play professional football. And this happened both at Air Force, Navy, and Army.
Right.
So the three, I guess, major schools that had players that were kind of a tune, and maybe one out of every year or every couple years, a guy maybe would have a chance. And there were some other sport athletes that had that opportunity, mainly for Olympic sports. And there was a thing called the Olympic Athlete Program that allowed those athletes to do it. The Air Force, military, and their wisdom saw an opportunity to give someone like myself a chance to play more football. Hey, this is a good promotional advertisement for the military. This is our best and brightest. He's on an NFL stage and he's getting it done. And on Tuesdays, I would go and communicate and show the Air Force to young students, Rotary clubs, anyone I could during the season, off season. I'd give a day, a couple weeks here and there to be able to help recruit, get kids opportunities not only to join the active duty Air Force, but the academies or ROTC programs. And it was very fulfilling. There were guys and gals just like me. What am I going to do? How do I, make an impact? And this was a chance for them to do that. So I wanted to pay it forward by helping them out.
Yeah, can you picture that? You're a high school kid, and here comes a pro football player
Right.
coming in to talk about the son. Let's talk about the Air Force
Right.
Academy. Hey, let's talk about ROTC. And they had to be going,
Oh my gosh.
this
Yeah.
is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But that's what you owed. You owed the government. You owed the academy that work and that alignment. So that was beautiful. So that, here he is. You end up with the Packers, right? And
Yeah.
that ended up being good. You were on all the special teams, rotating in at linebacker and all that sort of stuff on a pretty successful football team and program.
It was great to be there. Both experiences with Denver and with Green Bay were special. The people you met, people you still stay in contact with to this day. Certainly being on the field and being able to play at Lambeau is extremely special. I think it was special every time you would get family or friends being able to come in and see the game. And I usually is at the end zone, pointing to the north end zone, like wanting to know where the Ice Bowl touchdown took place. I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's
All
it.
right.
And, they would be quiet and take pictures and stuff. I mean, it was, to overstate it a bit, it is hallowed ground if you're a football fan and if you're into sports. And so it was always fun to share that with family and friends coming in.
I got to ask, I was in New York 9/11. I mean, anybody out there listening that lived through it remembers where they were, how it felt, et cetera. But here you are playing at a level that a lot of kids only dream of. You're in the NFL. 9/11 happens, but you have this extra responsibility. What was that like, knowing that, you're here, but you could have to go serve your country?
Yeah, when I saw it on the news, I called my commanding officer for the regiment that I was attached to in Denver immediately. Making sure he knows what's going on. He's on top of it. And what he said, Charlie Mike, continue the mission.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about the mission that you're given, Chris. You play football and you recruit and you're a public relations officer. You continue the mission until given another one. I mean, certainly everyone wants to grab a sword or anything they can to go in and join the fight to protect the country, to strike back or wherever it might be. But I think that gave me a lot of pause to be like, you're right. I made a commitment. I'm doing this until I'm told to do something else or required to do something else. So I went straight forward. And I think the guys had a lot to say about it. And I think that helped too, because certainly you want to go out there with your buddies. Shoot, the guy that was playing right next to me at linebacker was in the air immediately after that happened and was working. I mean, he's fighting, and you want to join the fight with your old teammates. And when I was able to communicate with them, and this was back in the days where you maybe left a cell phone voice message. There was no text, but you'd reach out and you'd connect with them, and they were just like, Giz, keep doing what you're doing. We see you on TV. It's a rallying cry. Like, we're all remembering it. Remember who you are. Remember what you inspired us to be, and vice versa. Here's a true warrior saying that to me. I'm like, well, you guys are doing that for me. You guys are out there for real, fighting a battle. And, this goes to, the men and women. My college girlfriend was a fighter pilot. How much she had invested to be a warrior for America. Like, I wanted the best for them, and they wanted the best for me too. So that gave me a lot of momentum and encouragement to continue on what I was doing as a player, and knowing that, hey, this is how I serve until I'm required to do something else. I'm going to show up every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and do what I'm asked to do and be where my feet are.
There was a clip of you carrying the flag out on Lambeau Field. That was September 24th, 2001, a week and a half after 9/11. And that's an interesting story, how that occurred, because they wanted you to carry the flag out for that before that game at Lambeau Field.
Head coach Mike Sherman, that was his idea, 100%. He had come up to me the week before. Certainly, we had it off. We were off that week. Everything got canceled. We practicing. We're business as usual. Things were settled that we would start playing again the next week. He came right up to me beginning of the week. He's like, "You're leading the team out when we play Monday night. You're taking care of that." And it's like, "Yes, sir. I'm ready to go, and whatever we need." Now, it's interesting because that was the last Mike had said, and when he gave direction, he was very good with that. It got done, and it got transferred all the way down to the guys in the equipment room. I mean, moments before I run out, the equipment guys are like, "Hey, you ready to go?" And like, "Hey, where's your flag?" And I'm like, "I must have left it in my other uniform." I'm joking. "What do you mean, where's my flag?" Without hesitation, one of our equipment told a guy who lived right next door, because around Lambeau, you can't drive anywhere near a kickoff. An hour before, it's gridlock. He runs home, gets his Boy Scout troop flag, runs it to the field without stopping, hands it to me. I turn and shoot out the tunnel.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way, right? And I really didn't have any plan to what I was supposed to do. Hey, am I presenting the colors? I did review my 15 count rifle manual and, presenting for the flag in case that's what was asked. But I saw the other guys out there. I'm like, hey, the crowd's, they're rumbling, the ground's shaking.
Oh, yeah.
I just took off running, and I didn't stop till I got to the other end zone. I just took all the crowd's energy and shot it back at them. And when I eventually handed the flag back off to Brian Nearing, the guy who handed it to me, and I stood in line, the special teams coach at that time comes up to me. His name's Frank Novak, and he's bawling. Okay, I'm so out of breath, and my legs are wobbling like I'm shaking. And we're on the flag with with Washington in the middle of the field. He's like, "What what a stunt! That was great. That was great." He's like, "Are your legs all right to run this first kickoff?" I'm like, "Frank, I'll be okay. I think we got a few minutes." He's like, "Oh, that's fair." I'm not. He's like, "That was great. That was great." He's like, "I'm loving." He was such an passionate and great coach as far as just letting guys be who they were and playing with fire to see the charge he got from. And that was the first, other than the crowd, the first reaction I saw from someone. I think it wasn't until that night, finished with the game, and people start coming up to you, or you start getting calls from friends in the service, and they're bawling their eyes out. They're, "Thank you." And saying that to me, it's like, "No, thank you." And it wasn't until maybe now, this is some years ago now, Coach, right? It's more gray hair on all of us. And it's as special then as special now as it was then.
Yeah.
And I really love to share that moment, some of the details behind it, but it really comes down to being such a uniting thing and to be part of. We're all going to do this together. Man, you can't beat that feeling.
A basic idea of that whole thing you captured it,
Yeah.
is what they were trying to do to the United States isn't going to work.
Yeah.
Here we are. This is the NFL football. This is football. This is part of our culture. Nah, we're going to keep going because we're the United States. And you displayed that to everybody. And it was Monday Night Football, by the way. Mm-hmm. The biggest back then. That was the biggest NFL game all weekend.
Yeah.
And
There you are.
the man we're talking to today gave the country that
is
moment.
a piece of history. That's
Patrick,
amazing.
you typed back to me, that's an iconic moment.
Yeah.
It sure is, Patrick.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah. We have to take a quick break. We keep saying we're getting to strength training. I promise we're
gonna
getting
get
to
to it now.
strength
That's
training.
it.
But I mean, I'm so glad that you shared that story, Chris. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. You are watching The Object of the Game, and our guest today, Chris Gizzi, who, as you've been hearing about, piece of history here, that iconic run out with the American flag right after 9/11. That's who did it, and he's our guest today. But Chris, I also want to talk about strength training because you were the strength coach with the Packers after you played for them, and now this is such a hot topic. And I'm sure you're going through it with your kids playing sports. Kids are strength training younger and younger. You had a lot of success. I don't want to gloss over the success that you had with the Packers as a strength coach. But I do want to get to what's the difference between when you were growing up in strength training and what's happening now?
Wow, it's been impressive to see how much it's grown now. The resistance or the weightlifting part of it was more bodybuilding origins, or sometimes it was the HIT program that was taking the NFL by storm during that time. The one set till failure, the Nautilus machines. It is blossomed and taking roots from powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, as well as seeing what other sports have kind of put together. I'd say there's a specialization just about for every sport. But the thing that's fascinating is a lot of these same pillars or applications are pretty solid throughout. Coach, I think you get this because you're a track coach.
Right.
And if you can coach track, you can coach any sport, realistically speaking. I think that's track coaches just understand that idea of intensity and volume. They've kind of feel that world. They know when to coach. They know when to back off and let someone learn something. If some things can't be taught, they can only be learned. So track coaches kind of do that. I think that's where strength conditioning has truly evolved from just getting good at bench pressing or getting good at squatting or getting your numbers up, which again, nothing wrong with that. There's a lot to be gained from that, but people moving a little better, a little bit more coordination, just feeling like you're connected. And that plays advantageous throughout any sport that you're playing. I believe that's really the foundation of strength conditioning now more than anything.
Yeah, when your dad and when I played, I mean, we're going to bench press and we're going to do all this sort of stuff. And I mean, he was a tight end. I was a running back. Okay, I ran track too because I kind of dawned on me, I got to be able to have some speed here and conditioning, or I'm not going to last the whole game and whatever. But that's kind of an interesting part of it that. It's gone so far from just being, man, I'm just benching and I'm just squatting and that's all, whatever, to movement and to recovery. A quick story. When I coached the United States, against the Junior World Championship, I asked this man right here.
Yeah.
I contacted Chris Gizzi going, Chris, we got in this tournament that we're playing at Canton Fawcett Stadium against these countries, we got to play 3 games in 8 days. And I've got college guys who go, can we get to the weight room? I mean, my college coach wants me to lift, and I'm like, how am I going to do this? I contacted this man right here, right here. And I go, Chris, I got a problem here. First of all, none of them are used to playing a game and then 2-3 days later playing another game and then 2-3 days play another game. And they want to lift. And he set me up beautifully on a well thought out, first of all, recovery right after the game. There's a recovery lift movement, and then onward. Chris, that to me, I will look you in the eye and tell you that expanded that experience expanded my idea, not just for football, but also for track. That
Yes.
program you gave me.
I tell you what, it was so fun to do that because it's similar to the issue that a lot of NFL teams have now, in that you have 3 games in 12 days, right? The Sunday to Thursday
Right.
dilemma that a lot of teams, you have to do that at least once a year. So it's a daunting task, and each one of those games presents a unique demand. The thing that's probably even across the board is the opportunities based on how that flow of the week goes to help someone recover, to make Monday feel a little bit more like Tuesday or Wednesday if you can. Even framing that in the mind does something to be like, hey, this is Monday, but it's really going to be like Monday and Tuesday.
Parents parents out there and young kids have to realize it's not just, hey, 3 times a week I'm going to bench press and I'm going to squat. No, it's way beyond that now, because there's this, like we're talking about, the recovery idea. Okay, you're helping your body recover. Then now that you've recovered, let's take a look at the squats and all that, and then it's become more science involved, and that's what you gave me that when we did that program, and what you're just talking about there, that it's way more than what it used to be. Yeah.
And can I ask too, because I think a big topic, and a lot of my friends who have kids playing sports, I mean, there's a debate. How young is too young? Like a lot of these kids are starting really young. So like, I don't know if you've looked into it, Chris, or if you have some recommendations. Like, I don't know, should my child be lifting weights? I mean, I have a 6-year-old. She wants to come down to the basement with me and she wants to do what I'm doing, and so she grabs 3-pound weights. That's different. But like for sports and for training, what do you think?
Yeah, well, let's look through it for maybe just 2 lenses.
Yeah.
The lens of what is been researched and practiced and applied the world over for kids. You can start learning weightlifting, the squatting motion, calisthenics, gymnastics, tumbling. You can do that as early as even before you could walk, if that's possible, to get up and down. What is a baby doing? They're learning to squat. And certainly they're having to do that to strengthen their legs. This is where like the body is in a state where it's very prone to be able to adapt. You want to provide stimulus. And if doing training is a stimulus that is engaging for the participant, so again, just looking at from strength and conditioning, you can start as early as you want. Now, look at it from the other side of like, would you say, well, let's not go play tag with your friends for an hour, and instead let's go to a weightlifting session or a track session or something like that, especially if the kid's not quite, they just want to play and it's not fun for them. They're not engaged with it. I would recommend go play tag with your friends, go and play a pickup basketball game, go run around the neighborhood, go ride your bikes until your thighs are burning. I think that's something that now is engaging the young child, the kid, and it's something like, well, I want to do this again tomorrow because it was fun.
Right.
If the strength conditioning part is not engaging, it's not producing that response that like, hey, let's go, let's get after it, let's have fun. Now, there are kids that do that with strength training, and there are times throughout the week where that's maybe advantageous. I think a good rule of thumb is the younger the kid, probably the less frequent those sessions are. If you just want to look across the board, one or two a week, so they get exposure to it. It's shorter sessions, a half hour, 45 minutes. And as they get older, you just increase maybe the amount of exposures per week and the length of that session.
Doing
That's
it
a very
right,
general rule.
young kid, doing it right, you don't, and realizing that you're still growing, kid. You're still growing. Don't try to bulk up too while you're still, your body's still got plenty to go yet. Just be careful with it. I mean, I think it can be fun. It can be fun, but like you're saying, play tag, multi movement, and so on like that, and is at the younger age, and they'll start feeling when that time period to really take up that next notch on the strength training.
if you're paying attention to what the kid is saying, and maybe the nonverbals, they'll tell you how much they want to do. Now, certainly the good problem to have is you have a kid that's so driven, you've got to back them off. You've
Right.
got to ensure, hey, we've got to get some sleep. We've got to eat vegetables. Like, this is a 50,000-year-old problem. I'm not here to solve that.
Right.
I
Right.
just know, like, you have some issues where, well, maybe this is a way you can do it. I think that's probably the first lesson you teach a college, sometimes even a professional athlete, is the importance of breakfast.
Mm.
As simple as it sounds, right? Like, are you kidding me? If you missed eating breakfast on a Tuesday after you're coming off a game, it's like missing a workout or missing a practice.
Right.
Wow.
What if you frame things in your mind like that? Now you're developing some habits. And again, this is the same for a driven NFL or professional athlete in any sport as it is for a kid who's like, I really want to get good at playing baseball. And I see some of the drills the pros are doing. But again, sometimes that's to sell sports drinks and tennis shoes. The volume that it gets pushed,
Yeah.
letting kids go and play, letting kids have it and knowing they can take a day off. They need to be their own best friend in this thing. And as parents, that's our job. I don't think there's any team out there now that's not emphasizing being a good teammate,
Yeah.
right? I think we know how impactful that is. And it's probably the major message of all my experiences, like, man, be a good teammate.
Yeah.
I also mean, why don't you be a good teammate to yourself?
Right.
Be good to yourself throughout this whole thing. And as driven as you are, you got to say the right things to yourself when you need it the most. You got to be your best fan.
So true. I think there's a lot of middle-aged moms and dads also out there listening or watching going, well, what about us? I'm going to ask you a few questions. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back more with Chris Gizzi. All right, we have reached the point in the object of the game where we are going to get to the English lesson in a minute or two. But while I have Chris here, and I kind of alluded to it before I tossed to break, I feel like there's a lot of advice on training on social media. I mean, we've kind of talked a little bit here and there about social media throughout the show, but there's, you see influencers post things, and I think that's where a lot of teens are finding, like you just mentioned, the ego training and things like that, and adults are now falling trap to this. Do you have advice for anybody out there that is trying to just, they're trying to do the right thing, stay in shape, train well, and I'm going to gear this toward the older teen who has more of an adult body all the way through anybody who's still just trying to exercise and stay in shape?
Well, to set the stage for that, I tell you what, the ultimate goal of this thing, can you do the simple things extraordinarily well? Like, can you really lock those in? The simplest things when it comes to taking care of your body. And these are just some of the things that you would say they're more passive because they're out of the gym or the field. You've got to get sleep more than 8 hours, 9, 10. You're growing we got to get sleep. What does that say? We have to put the phone, the video games. Sometimes we got to, instead of going out, we got to take care of our study work so that we can get to bed by 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Mm-hmm. And we have to wake up early. Typically like to wake up at the same time every day to create a rhythm for yourself. So those are simple things, certainly, like just to be able to do that. Drinking water, certainly getting 3 meals a day. Let's just keep it at that level of simplicity. If you can do those things, then it's time to add a supplement. Never before. Mm-hmm. I'll draw the line right there and say, nah, unless you're doing those things, then you can't add a supplement. If you've got a good foundation in doing push-ups, pull-ups, body weight squats, lunges, you run forward, side to side, backwards. If you do all that stuff and you do it in a play type environment, now you're ready to go to a speed coach and get coached up on getting thigh lift, working your arm action, increasing your freak, all the things that they can do. But if we don't have that coordination, that functionality, that ability to adapt, you will not get as much out of being able to increase your capacity or the force that you produce if you don't have that other thing in front of it.
Yeah.
So I'm not doing this for short-term gains. I want you to be the best that you can be. And you might be extraordinary. You can climb the levels, or you might just be able to be a person, hey, this is the best I can do, but I want that for everyone to get that chance. If you negate doing those simple things right off the bat extraordinarily well, you're not going to build a foundation to do some of the fancier stuff that, again, you're going to see in clips on YouTube or in social media. Again, that should motivate you, but see where that person started off. So for every drill that you see is like, wow, that's impressive. This guy's lifting weight, or this girl's being able to do this on one leg. It started off them doing an air squat, a push-up.
Yeah.
Young athletes start off with that. And as you're developing, certainly you get in what you put out. I don't think you necessarily need to be talked about the effort part of this thing, but there's a rhythm to everything. And if working hard every time the same day was going to get you to the top, everyone would do it. There's got to be a little bit of a rhythm to this thing.
Yeah.
All right. Certainly you bring your effort, but you've got to create a little variety. Most coaches in this business now that are doing this and making a living, the business of strength conditioning as well as the practice, they're developing a long standing history, 3, 4, 5, 10 years of getting consistent results with kids in all sports. Those are the people you look to in our industry. And those are the people that, we want our kids involved in something like that. But they're going to be playing tag, they're going to be playing in the pool, they're going to be playing on the pickleball court as much as they can leading up to that, and then even after that too, because we want them to have a wide and holistic variety of things that they're getting into. That's just so important. I can't emphasize that enough. Even for athletes working and playing in an individual sport, they're already specialized. It's important that you kind of open up your boundaries, and it's not just about your sport. It's healthy for you as a person.
I love it. That's a great baseline. I mean, that is like, I know we could go on and on and on, and people probably have a million questions, but that's an amazing reminder. All right, we have a vocab word for you.
Chris, I sent you the themes, Literature, yes, there's themes, but life and sports have themes too. So
yes,
long list there. I don't ask you until now. All right. What theme? What theme? Maybe two. What'd you come up with?
There were two, because I think they flow together. This idea of preparation and competition, and we hear this term all the time, like, oh, that person's a competitor, and we see it on TV. And sometimes, like, maybe I'm getting a little bit on my pedestal here. Like sometimes we emphasize the wrong things about being a competitor. A player throwing a helmet. Getting ejected from a game. Again, there's time and place for everything, but we know when it's, hey, that guy lost his cool, or she could have handled that better. Even as coaches, everyone can be guilty of it, as well as everyone can recover from that. I think the idea of being extremely prepared is a sign of a great competitor. And that could be getting a good night's rest before a game. That could be making sure you eat breakfast before you go to your team run. That could be, hey, I'm going to give the best I have here, even though I might not be a great squatter. I'm going to do the best I can, and I'm going to chip away and get 1% better every day. That, to me, and what I've seen from the best competitors, first ballot Hall of Famers, in all different sports, they have that quality about them, is the preparation. Even if it's moments before they go on, they are always in a mindset of, I want to learn, I want to get better at something. I'm going to do the best I can because I trust myself. I'm going to go out and do it. So those were the themes that jumped off the paper at me. Like there was little, it lit up for me. So there was a lot of good themes there to pick from. Those were the two best.
Yeah, from what he did in his life so far, those themes, you could see it. Here you are with the Green Bay Packers, and you're seeing people prepare and do it like that and compete like that. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a quote.
Yes.
Now, I don't know. Did you take Shakespeare, Chaucer, when you were at Ignatius?
I did not. I did the Edgar Allan Poe class.
Oh, the Poe class.
That was an awesome class.
Yeah.
But I did miss out on Chaucer and Shakespeare with you.
All right.
Don't worry, Chris. You're not missing out.
We
have a personal class
Very
for
good.
you.
I'm back.
All right. So this is just, I find a quote that hopefully relates to our guests. I think this is, after we've witnessed tonight in listening to this, I think this one is a good one. This is from the play Measure for Measure, which is somewhat of a kind of a dark comedy. There's some issues, but okay. Act 1, Scene 1. And here's the quote. Ready? Good counselors lack no clients. If you can give good advice, people will search for you. people will want to work with you. And I'm sure you've witnessed that. When those players, right, trust you, the strength trainer, trust what you're saying and your commitment to him, he'll be back the next day. So good counselors lack no clients. Whether it's a coach, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a boss, there's that trust that even Shakespeare witnessed. How about that? And you've been that for those players for a long, long time.
Thank you, Coach. You've been that for all of us too, and I appreciate you guys putting this on and paying it forward to everyone else.
It's been great chatting with you. And Chris, we didn't even get a chance to talk about all the stuff that your kids are doing. So you're parenting on the sidelines too. I've asked a lot of our former professional athlete guests that are now parenting through sports on the sidelines. Is it different when you have had that professional level and you're watching your kids go through youth sports? What kind of perspective does that give you?
Oh man, it's a huge perspective. And it definitely, I think just the experience I had from my father being a coach helped out, because really he did it pretty well. And it's like, how did dad coach this? Or he left a lot of stuff be. And I think that's where like the best coaches say a little less. They give you that moment to learn, and they ask a question more than just telling you. And I think that's probably the best thing I learned from my dad and shoot, all my coaches. I was spoiled from my high school coaches, my college coaches, because they asked more questions than they told or directed us. Hey, what do you think about that? What are your eyes doing here? How can your feet be better here? They're asking us. That was a huge way in which to kind of propel and create buy-in, as well as, well, wow, they're asking me. What's my answer? I've got to come up with an answer. I got to figure this out. That's the same thing my wife Jennifer and I try to do with our kids. Certainly we can't be having you run across the street in traffic. That's me telling you something. But there's those more often than not moments I want to ask, and I want to let that come out. I want to let them bring it up versus me talk about a game. Sometimes it's just better to, hey, what do you want to listen to on the radio on the ride home? And then sometimes the question comes out from them, or they kind of are able to vent. So that's the best part about being a parent in this. And sometimes I have been the coach and the parent. That's tough. It really is, coaching your kid. And then all the other coaches on the team realize that and be like, hey, I got him.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's great.
That lets me off. Like, I'll go get your kid, you go get mine.
Yeah.
And we'll create that best environment for them.
That's fair.
Yeah, very good.
I love it. Well, Chris, this has been amazing to catch
thank
up with you.
This is
even
good.
just on the
Great.
personal level. Great to catch up with you again. And congratulations on all of your success. And I love every story that you shared with us today. I think everybody will be able to take a piece out of it.
Yeah, and we didn't make your wife. You Air Force Academy also, right? Your wife.
Yep.
So
She
look at
Air
that.
Force grad. She was a pilot.
She was a pilot. Look at
Yeah,
that.
I flew a desk. She flew a fighter.
Yeah. I had
incredible.
to get that in because
Oh my gosh, can we get her on too?
Those guys in the military, they're isolated. Wait a minute now. This worked out. He found his wife at the academy. Beautiful, beautiful.
I love it.
Tell her we said hi,
Yes.
please.
Sure will. Yeah, thank you for inviting me on here. I know she's always happy to let me go on and share that side of your life. I think she loves seeing me coach the kids, being around them, being able to enjoy a different part in my life in sports with the kids now. So it's been a blessing.
Well, it's been great. Great conversation, Chris. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And thanks to all of you for watching The Object of the Game here on Big Play Networks. Remember, you can catch us. All of the episodes that you might have missed are on YouTube, on Big Play Network YouTube page. We are live every Monday on X. I still call it Twitter. I don't know about you. And also on The Rock Entertainment at 4 o'clock on Mondays. And until we see you next time, for Coach Kyle, I'm Maureen Kyle. Thank you so much for watching The Object of the Game.